The sound of children playing outside felt distant as I sat alone in my small, dimly lit room. My heart was heavy, my chest tight, as I thought about the person I had become. My name is Eveline, and I carry the burden of actions I wish I could undo. Today, I want to share my story, not to ask for forgiveness but to show how envy can ruin lives, including your own. It started when I was just a child. My father was a strict man, not affectionate, but I loved him because he was all I knew. One morning, when I was 6, he told my mother he was leaving. He had met someone else, and she was pregnant with his child. My mother begged and pleaded, but his decision was final. He packed his bags and left, leaving us broken. My mother didn't handle it well. She spiraled into depression, and I, just a little girl, had to care for her as best as I could. I would make her meals and clean the house, hoping to make her smile again. But she never recovered. A year and a half later, she passed away, leaving me completely alone in the world. When my mother's family refused to take me in, they called my father. Reluctantly, he agreed to bring me into his new home. I'll never forget the day I arrived. His new wife, Clara, stood at the door with a forced smile, and her toddler, Vera, clung to her leg. From the moment I stepped into their house, I was treated like an outsider. Clara gave me the worst chores, scrubbing floors, washing piles of laundry, and taking care of Vera as if she were my child. I was barely fed, often beaten for the smallest mistakes, and forbidden from going to school. I cried every night, wishing my mother were still alive to save me. Despite everything, Vera adored me. As she grew older, she followed me everywhere, calling me Big Sister. I tried to hate her because of her mother, but her innocent love made it hard. Years passed, and Clara and my father died, leaving Vera and me alone in the world. By then, Vera had finished school and secured a good job. I, on the other hand, had no education and 2 children from different fathers. My life was a mess, and I resented her for having everything I lacked. But Vera didn't see it that way. She stepped in to help me without hesitation. She gave me money to start a small food business. She introduced me to her colleagues, who became loyal customers. Her kindness was unwavering, but instead of being grateful, I felt a burning jealousy every time I looked at her. Vera's success reminded me of my failures, and I couldn't stand it. Every time I delivered food to her office, I gossiped about her to her colleagues. I spread lies, saying she was lazy, rude, and incompetent. One by one, she lost her jobs. Each time she came home in tears, I pretended to comfort her. It's their loss, I would say, while secretly feeling victorious. This pattern repeated at 4 of our workplaces. She never suspected me, and I never stopped. Vera's generosity extended to my children. She took them on vacations, paid their school fees, and bought them everything they needed. Instead of softening my heart, her kindness made my jealousy grow. When Vera met a handsome man who wanted to marry her, I couldn't bear the thought of her being happy. I sabotaged our relationships one after the other. I told her boyfriends she was barren or unfaithful. Most of them believed me and left her. Then she met Daniel, a man who loved her deeply. No matter what lies I told him, he stood by her. My frustration boiled over. Desperate to break them apart, I forged medical test results showing she had a viral infection. When Daniel saw them, he broke off the engagement. I felt a twisted sense of victory. One day, I woke up consumed by hatred. I convinced myself that Vera needed to be erased from my life completely. I cooked her favorite meal, laced it with poison, and sent it to her through a dispatch rider. As fate would have it, the rider had an accident, and the food spilled onto the ground. When I heard what happened, I felt a wave of relief and terror. I had come so close to taking my sister's life, the one person who had shown me unconditional love. That night, I couldn't sleep. Memories of Vera's kindness flooded my mind. She had given me money when I was struggling, helped my children when I couldn't, and stood by me despite everything. What kind of person repays love with hatred? I broke down and confessed everything to her in a tearful letter. I admitted to ruining her jobs, her relationships, and almost her life. I begged for her forgiveness, though I knew I didn't deserve it. Vera was devastated when she read my letter. She couldn't bring herself to speak to me for weeks. But eventually, she called me. "Eveline," she said, her voice shaking, "I don't know if I can ever forgive you. But for the sake of your children, I will try. Here are a few lessons I would like you to take away from my story. 1. Jealousy destroys both the victim and the perpetrator. My envy not only hurt Vera but left me filled with guilt and regret. 2. Your kindness can be taken for granted. Vera's love and generosity didn't stop me from trying to hurt her, so you have to understand that your kindness too might not stop people from using or abusing you. Also, unchecked jealousy can blind us to the goodness of others. Because Vera was a blessing to me, but I could not see it. 3. It is important to always have self-reflection. Because it took me nearly destroying my sister's life to realize how far I had fallen. And how wicked I had become. My anger towards my father and stepmother was turning me into a worse monster and I could not see it. Today, I live with the consequences of my actions. Vera and I are rebuilding our relationship, but the scars I caused may never fully heal. If you take anything from my story, let it be this: never let jealousy rule your heart. It's a poison that only brings pain. Thank you so much for watching till this point. We would like to hear your opinion regarding Eveline's story. Was she justified to hate her sister? If you were in her shoes, would you have carried a grudge? Or would you have handled things differently? Please let us know in the comment section. Also, don't forget to like, share, comment and most of all subscribe to encourage us as we share these thrilling stories with you. See you in the next video.